Hey everybody, it's TurrelicTom, and welcome back to the Splat Bros Weapon Guide. If you haven't seen this before, here's where we discuss the pros and cons of every weapon kit available here in Splatoon 3, and what things you can do or add to them to help advance your level of play, or learn more about them before you try them out yourself. Whether it's to take your level of play to the next level, help you get started competitively, or if you just want to learn more about each weapon's roles in games, here's where we'll help you do just that. With all that said, let's continue on to the next weapon in our series, one that's much different from the weapons we've covered up to this point. Alright, well, we did cover the best girl's weapon last time, so might as well do the next best ones next. Now, while many players like myself like to be up close to the action and scrap with opponents to gain turret, others like to sit back and watch all the chaos unfold from afar, and be the jerks that cause more of it from a safe distance. They're usually called sniper players, but in this game, they're known misleadingly as chargers. And the face of this class is unlocked at level 2, the Splat Charger. Or if you complete Marie's palette in the Side Order DLC, you'll unlock the Order Charger Replica. While this thing is technically still a gun, this one works very differently from a regular shooter, as when you hold down ZR, instead of firing a stream of ink bullets, you'll instead charge a single powerful attack that will fire when you release the trigger. Depending on how long you hold the charge, its range can be anywhere from a short, weak attack to a long-ranged one-hit kill. At full charge, this shot deals a powerful 160 points of damage and reaches up to 5 lines in the practice arena, and can get there pretty quickly, taking only about 1 second to charge up to max power. On the other hand, firing the charge before it reaches full charge will give it a shorter range and will never kill someone in one hit at full health, dealing anywhere from 40 points to 80 points of damage. And after firing a blast, there's about 20 frame cooldown before the ink starts refilling for it. It uses about 18% of the ink tank for every full powered shot, giving you about 5.5 full charge shots in one use of the ink tank, and anywhere from 2.25% to 17% on lesser charges. Also, I guess this is kind of a good point to say, in this game, unlike other shooters, you don't get any bonus damage for hitting the heads or getting headshots or anywhere else on the body. If it hits somebody in a game, the damage is the same consistently across. So you don't get any extra swag for going BOOM HEADSHOT outside of personal pride. All chargers also have a laser sight on their barrel, showing the player and everyone on the map where they're aiming and where a shot will go when it fires. Now, unlike other shooting games, sniper shots here don't hit the target instantly when you pull the trigger when you have a target in your sights, as the shot still has to travel a distance to reach the target. By the time it does, either by an opponent's movement or internet lag, the target may not be where it was, so you'll just miss. But a good strategy for charger players to learn is to lead the shot to where you believe a target will go, so at the time the shot gets there, they're meeting the target. But like I mentioned earlier, the laser sighting it has is visible to all players. So landing a killing shot on an enemy may be a bit hard to do so, as if an enemy can see you aiming at them, they'll swim away to avoid being a splatter on the ground. Not to mention it also has a glowing light right by your face that basically says, "Here I am!" However, this can be avoided, as the laser doesn't pass through solid walls and objects, with it showing the aim line only to the player where it would go if the object wasn't there. So, aiming at the ground or at a wall until your shot is ready, then peeking around the corner and firing can catch more enemies by surprise for a killing blow. Another great tip to remember this strategy is to remember that all cephalopods are right-handed. So peeking around a right-hand corner can provide you with the window to land your shot, while also not exposing as much of your body to be hit in return. A more advanced technique to use as well is known as the flick shot, where you aim away from an enemy, then quickly flicking your aim back at your target and firing, taking them out before they even know what hit them. It's a tricky technique to learn, but a fun one to use once you get it. However, while you're a sniper, that doesn't mean you have to be stationary to be a help to your team, as the Splat Charger is one of the few weapons in the game with a rare ability. As once a shot is charged to the max, if you continue to hold down the charge button, you can swim in ink to readjust your position, then pop back up and have a full charge shot still ready to fire. You can swim around with a full charge in your squid form for about 1 second, with the bright light of the charge still being seen through the ink. This can make for a lot of awesome and crazy surprise attacks that also make it hard for enemies to find you, as well as being able to support teammates from all across the map. As well as this is a backliner weapon and sniper, the Splat Charger is actually pretty comfortable being somewhat close to the action. As it is a middleweight weapon, it allows you to swim and run on foot quickly to get out of some bad situations. Which, believe me, compared to other backliner weapons, they love that with how slow they move. However, there are some things you should be mindful of in preparing your attacks with the Charger. For one, charges are slowed drastically when the player runs out of ink. It will allow you to charge until you have a full charge, even if when you have nothing left, but it will be much slower. And the same also happens when you're in the air, slowing down to a third of its regular charging speed. You need to have your feet on the ground and with plenty of ammo for it to go at full speed charging. You also do move slower when you're at a full charge, so you can't sprint around the stage with a full charge ready to go like normal. So always be sure you have ink on the ground on your perches and spend any free moments you have not aiming at targets submerged in ink to keep your tank full. And while you can store a charge through swimming, you can't hold it forever, as you will lose it after swimming for more than a second, showing it when the light shining through the ink disappears. And this kind of does mess it up too, as the light shining through the ground can ruin any stealth plan you have if an enemy spots you and you try swimming through ink. And while you have a powerful one-hit kill that can take out multiple targets at once, charging at your opponents usually doesn't end well for you, as most other skirmishing weapons either have quicker kill times or more powerful one-hit kills of their own that don't require them to be as accurate as you to get off a killing shot. And believe me, as a player that is likely going to be the last line of defense for your team, they'll be looking to take you out any chance they get. And while this gun reaches farther than any weapon we've covered so far, overall that's not really saying much, as it's still beat out by a lot of other backliners, like the Hydra Spotling, Tri-Stringer, and E-Leader, all of which easily beat it out before it can even get close. So this weapon is definitely a more supportive role than being a sole backline position, as its long range can take out enemies that your teammates are fighting. And while it's not the greatest painter, it can be useful to lay down long, thin lines of ink that can help your team get to the center of the map and objectives quickly, and provide escape routes to teammates in the thick of a fight. In fact, weapons that are classified as backliners or anchors like chargers have very important roles to play for their team. Thanks to your longer range and usually not being in the thick of it, you get to see a lot more of what's going on in the field, which you can communicate to your teammates in competitive play on voice chat for them to act on, or act on yourself in solo play to keep numbers up on your side. But probably the most important part you play is that you are your team's jumping point. As since you're usually a good distance away from the main action or on a good sniper perch to provide overwatch, teammates who go down in the battle will use you as the jump point to get back to the action a lot faster than if they had to swim back. This is especially true when the opposing team gains the upper hand, as if you keep your distance and stay alive, your team can rally on your point and return to the fight faster. Odds are, if you go down, the team may go down with you, as enemies will feel more confident that the sniper looking to shoot them down is now out of commission for a while. Survival is very key for a backline player, and that means having ink in the tank as well as to make escape routes for yourself and to support your team. So always be sure you have ink and an escape route handy to keep yourself alive, and recover ink whenever you have a free moment to keep the tank full. And while that's happening, use that time also to check the map to see where the enemy can be going and where your help is needed. Also, this may be a way to see when your opponents will be looking for ways to flank you, as charging a backline player usually head-on is usually a guaranteed victory for the backline player. So keep your head on the swivel. Another thing to watch for is the player count at the top of the screen to see which enemies and weapons they have specials ready, especially if they have ones that can displace or kill you. The most notorious ones for targeting backliners are usually Killer Whale, Tenna missiles, and Booyah bombs. Also, subs are a serious threat as well to you, as that's the main weapon many weapons with shorter range have that can deal with you. And a major one that you definitely want to be on the lookout for is Toxic Mist. As while it won't kill you like other subs, it does drain your ink and slow you down, and you can't stay in the same spot for very long. And a charger with low to no ink is guaranteed to lose a fight if they come across an opponent. Now, while having a one-hit kill shot is great to have and is a lot of fun, not every shot you make needs to be at full power to take someone out. Or sometimes it doesn't even need to hit their target to be part of the help to your team. Making a shot land close to an enemy can scare enemies off that are looking to advance to certain places, or it can even trap them in narrow areas by cutting off their movement and escape routes to make a tough snipe an easy one for you to land, or a fight for a teammate to finish the job much easier. And if you find an opponent that's nearby and clearly wounded, a faster partial shot can finish the job just as well as a full charged one. Chargers are also really good punishers to certain special attacks, making some special users like Reef Slider and Inkjet think twice about using them in the presence of a charger, as they're very easy to snipe when they finish. However, in the case of an enemy getting too close to attack you, believe me, it will happen, the charger can use its partial charge shots as its fastest way to attack enemies. It may not be the greatest way to deal with enemies, but it's something you have, and it can sometimes get you a win in the right situations. But along with that, they can also be used to help teammates, such as those that get in tough fights. A partially charged shot can be enough to finish the job your teammate started to get a revenge kill, which can definitely help work at higher levels of play, as players spend less time at full health the higher you go with them. And while the Splat Charger may be beaten out by a lot of backline weapons that have better range than it, it does have its strengths that can help get you over the edge with them. Remember that this is a middleweight weapon, and a lot of the weapons that outrange it are heavyweights. They'll likely be stationary on the perches they found. So using your stored charge and quick movement speed, you can pull off a sort of hit and run strategy by quickly swimming in to get them in range, take aim and fire to take them out, then ducking back down and fleeing back behind your team to support them from the back again. And this strategy doesn't have to work on just the backliners. This can get a few midliners that are still in the action but a bit farther in the back away from the main fighting. Using your speed and this sniper special ability is what can help it stay in contention with the other bigger guns in this class, and move around the field to support your team from all facets. But for those of you who somehow found your way to this game from other shooters, maybe like Call of Duty, what could happen? And you find yourself picking this weapon up and you can't snipe without your proper Splatterscope, don't worry, we got something for you here with the Splatterscope. While this may sound like a brand new weapon, it's actually basically just a Splat Charger with a scope attachment. But when you charge a shot, you'll enter a first-person view, which allows you to make more meticulous shots to take out opponents. Along with that, you actually gain a little bit more range as well compared to the regular Splat Charger, reaching around to the 6th line in the practice arena now instead of the 5th, which puts you in a little more in contention with the longer range backline weapons. However, this extra range and attachment does come at a small price of not being able to store a charge shot in ink like you do with a regular Splat Charger, so you can't pull off the same hit and run strategies like the Splat Charger can do. It lets you play it more like the classic sniper player. And one thing to be aware of with this is that this tunnel vision the Splatterscope gives you can give you literal tunnel vision, as you will be able to see around you until you fire the shot or swim in ink. So players sneaking for flanks or throwing a bomb in your blind spot can be a surprising death. So keep your wits about you as you take your more precise shots. Now, while the gun may not be great at dealing with enemies that get too close to you, don't worry, it's got a sub-weapon that helps get people out of your face with the Splat Bomb. Yep, the versatile bomb is back again and is probably the best weapon this kit has to defend yourself and an objective. Dropping one at your feet on a perch or between you and an approaching opponent will bring their rush to a screeching halt so they don't end up being the ones that died, which can allow you to swim away or jump back to spawn safely. Good chargers always want fights to be on their terms, keeping space from opponents at the first sign of trouble and making opponents move to where you can snipe them or into a teammate fighting. And this bomb is instrumental in making that happen. Also, enemies that see you will likely use any cover they can to be out of your line of fire. So a good bomb in the right area can flush them out into the opening to be a practice target for you again. And even if it lands the 30 points of splash damage, that can also be used to make pickoffs easier with a close to full charge shot. Or it can even help cut off enemy routes to make a shot easier. Or sometimes it can just take an opponent out all on its own. It's strong enough to do that. The synergy it has with the charger is quite good and can be used to help stay alive and manipulate enemies into your shots, or even use as a warning shot to trap enemies in with the bomb to take them out. Plus, it's also great at dealing object damage to splash walls, big bubblers, and the Rainmaker shield to get some fast damage and surprise kills on enemies. That said, you do need to make your shots count when you use this, as the bomb's an expensive one, using up to 70% of your ink tank per use, which will leave you with enough ink to get off one full charge shot and maybe a second one without a reload. So use your bombs right to make your shots as effective as possible to be the supportive sniper on your team. Its special is a new one to the series that really sucks. Literally. It's the Uno reverse card of Splatoon 3, the Ink Vac. This gives the player a reflower from SpongeBob. Oh, come on, don't tell me that it isn't. Which, when you hold down ZR, sucks up the enemy's main weapon projectiles, bombs, and even special attacks into your pack. Then, after 6 seconds, or after you suck up 1,200 points of damage, you fire back a massive blast of ink that splats any enemy upon contact. And when it lands, shows a radius of damage it will deal before it explodes, dealing 220 points of damage. The size of the blast radius will depend on how much damage you suck up, ranging from about the size of a bomb explosion when you suck up nothing, up to being a major blast when at max. You can see how full the tank is with a red circle in front of you that fills up the more damage you absorb, letting you know how big of an explosion you'll make at the end of the sucking phase. Don't take that too literally. It absorbs damage from shots at a rate of 1.5 points of damage per frame, or about 90 points per second. Now, this is already a great tool to defend yourself, but can also be used to protect your teammates as well, as teammates standing in your protective vortex will be immune to damage as long as you have it trained on them, negating your opponent's attacks, but letting them fight normally, making it a great tool to support and defend teammates that are vital to your team, like a heavy skirmishing player or a player with an objective, like carrying the Rainmaker or a Power Clam, or when they're riding the tower, which can make your opponents practically be able to do nothing as they watch you both go forward and score points. You can even cover more area with a special power-up ability, as that increases the radius of the Ink Vac's vortex. However, the Vac does more than just absorb attacks. It also affects enemies that get caught in the Vac's vortex, slowing them down as if they were caught in toxic mist. And if they're close enough, it'll straight up prevent them from being able to ink the ground and get away from you or teammates. And when I say this thing sucks up enemies' attacks, I do mean just about any attack that comes its way. Any projectile from a main weapon, any sub-weapon that explodes at all, and nearly every major special attack. Trizooka shots, inkjet shots, crab tank shots, Tenna missiles, even other Ink Vac shots. You name it, it absorbs it. Actually, no, not everything. But it usually has an effect on them in some way. Strap in, we got a lot to go over here. Non-lethal subs like sprinklers, squid beacons, and splash walls are subs it doesn't suck up, but instead damages them, dealing 120 points of damage to them each second, which will take out the sprinklers and beacons nearly instantly. As for specials, it does mostly absorb everything, like Tenna missiles out of the air, ink storm and splatter color screens, devices, and the rain jumps that fall out of the sky, and can even stop Kraken from letting a killing blow. However, specials with health like Big Bubbler, Wave Breaker, and Super Jump decoys kind of get the same treatment as splash walls and sprinklers, with it dealing hundreds of points of damage every second to break them. However, the Ink Vac doesn't protect you from everything. As well as Vortex protects the players from all damage to the front of them while it's out, they're still vulnerable to attacks from the flank or behind. Players able to get around or behind an Ink Vac player to avoid the Vac's vortex can land attacks on them like normal and splat them to end its sucky run early and ruin any protection you're giving to teammates. Along with that, there are a few weapons and specials that can break through and around the Ink Vac's vortex. As while it blocks projectiles, it doesn't block physical attacks. Rollers and Splatanas can literally just walk through your vortex and land a point-blank strike on you and just end your run right on the spot. Sometimes brute force is just the answer. And while Ink Vac stops most special attacks, if the attack is a giant explosion like a Booyah Bomb or triple Inkstrike, while you'll absorb ink, you'll still take damage if you're still in the middle of the explosion and can die from the attack hitting you as it hits you from behind and the sides too. And while it can suck up Tenna missiles, you do have to be moving around to get all of them, as they come in from all angles, including behind you, and can splat you if they land where the vacuum doesn't cover. Also, physical attack specials like Reef Slider and Zipcaster can just crash into you, or Ultra Stamps can run you over too and go right through it, the attack to hit you, just like a Splatana or Roller Strike. However, if the hammer is thrown at you, the Vac will just absorb that. I guess. Also, while you absorb ink projectiles, you cannot vacuum up ink that is on the ground, which is odd because that's kind of what vacuums should do anyway. Nintendo logic, I guess. Other things to consider that while you move using this special, you walk a bit slower than normal, but you are still allowed to swim in your squid form to move around while you're needed. But this does eat a bit into the time you have this special. And while sucking up your enemy's attack is definitely a power trip, once the 6 seconds are up or the tank is full, until you fire it, you're open to damage. So you can absorb a lot of damage, but people will happily keep firing at you, waiting for that opening to land a killing blow once your pack is full. This is especially the case against fast damage dealing rapid fire weapons, like the Hydra Splatling, Heavy Edit Splatling, Crab Tank's rapid fire mode at max speed, who easily will fill up the Inkvax tank and then continue their assault to splat you when the Inkvax stops because it's at full capacity, which can end your special without any real benefit to using it. And that can really sting with this weapon, as while it only needs 190 points to get, Chargers aren't exactly known for their painting capabilities. But when used right, this can get you to play an even bigger supportive role for your team. And since the Splat Charger is already in and out of the fray with its movements and charge-saving abilities, when coordinated right, this can make game-changing pushes into mid or the enemy side to gain points you need to take a lead to win a tough battle. So maybe this vacuum doesn't suck too bad after all. For its best modes, I'd say it does its best work in tower control, as finding the right perches can make it tough for opposing teams to get set up and begin a push against your team or get through checkpoints. And believe me when I say a good backline player sitting on the tower is a nightmare for the opposing team, along with being a free perch that you can use to fight the enemy with. Splat Bomb can also help get foes off of it or defend yourself on it, and Inkvac is one of the best specials on it to protect teammates riding on it or yourself to get through important checkpoints. Rainmaker is pretty solid too, as it's a great weapon to defend against teams pushing in, and with enough practice, usually the backline players are the best ones to wield the Rainmaker itself, as you're usually behind your team anyway, providing cover fire, and no space to get survivability better than most. And if you're not carrying it, Splat Bombs deal good damage to the shield, and Inkvac can protect the player through certain areas, or even slow down and block an approach by the enemy to make it easy for your team to take them down. Clan Blitz is a strong mode for it too, as it's a great weapon to defend the basket and can be something that makes opponents hesitant to push into the basket area without proper support, with Splat Bombs being a good manipulation tool, and Inkvac can counter enemy pushes using their subs and specials to get to the basket or to cover a teammate trying to get into with a football. And on the right stages, this weapon is a nightmare to enemies trying to paint in splat zones, as many stages have great perches where you can lord over the zone, which make it feel like being there is a death trap. And even on their own side of the map if you get control of mid. Splat Bombs can help paint the zone and assist some teammates, and Inkvac is a great weapon to protect the zone from being painted, or possibly even use it to chase enemies out of it. And being on a safe sniper perch is just what a team needs in tight splat zone matches. For best abilities for it, I do want to bring special attention to an infamous one, Respawn Punisher. This makes it so when you splat an opponent, it increases the amount of time it takes for that player to respawn, and also makes them lose more of their special gauge than normal, which can be a major help to your team by making some players take longer to come back. However, the same effects are also dealt to you if you get splatted, making it a bit of a double-edged sword. But this is a popular ability choice for backline players like Chargers, as you're usually out of the range of a lot of weapons, or have a good chance to pick them off before they get near you. So once you really get the hang of this weapon and pull off great kills and know how to survive, you get a lot more of the benefit without as much of the punishment. Like the weapon, it takes a lot of practice, but it is a great reward once you master it. And with a lot of these other abilities too, it could be what you need to be the dangerous sniper that supports your team from behind. For best stages, you want to find areas with good perches that let you have good views and hiding spots to hide your laser sight to catch opponents by surprise as you prepare for your attack, as well as some pretty good open ones where you have areas to get back to safety, but still in areas where you can support your team in wide open areas. As you want stages where the enemies do want to confront you, they have to take pathways directly at you that you can see, or along winding ones that don't give them a lot of ways to move quickly. Finding the right perches and areas on the right stages can make a lot of matches feel much more in your favor, and you can be much more of a help to your team all the more. But hold on, we're not done yet, as this weapon has got more kits to give you all kinds of ways to pick off foes from a distance, and sometimes the first kit doesn't quite give you what you need to really practice getting good with the weapon class. And that's where this one comes in to help. Unlocked at level 9, it's the Z+F Splat Charger. Same stats as the regular charger, but this kit has more defensive capabilities to protect you from those other long-range snipers looking to take you out, while also making a bigger strike on the field. Its sub-weapon is a new weapon for us, the Splash Wall. Kinda like the Squid Beacon in the last episode, this sub isn't an attack, but instead is a defensive mechanism that deploys a device that rains ink down as a small wall in front of you for about 7 seconds if left untouched, blocking up to 800 points of damage from enemies, blocking main weapon fire, sub-weapons, and even some special attacks. However, while it blocks all the enemy shots, your shots go through it with no issue to attack enemies normally. See how this thing's actually pretty helpful? Any enemy that touches it also takes 30 points of damage for every half second they stand under it, or will bounce off of it if it's showering and it doesn't do a kill shot. The way you can tell how much health and time it has left is thanks to a large ink tank in the center that will slowly drain as its time and health go down. This is a great tool for a charger weapon, as this provides you with cover to allow for mistakes, or can save you from some killing shots from enemies with longer range than you and sniper duels, as they'll either have to break it down and waste some shots to do that, or find a way around it, and when used on some ledges, there's no way to do that. It can also be a great tool to block enemies that rush at you to try and take you down from far away, and make them have to try and break through it or go around it. Or you can even use it to jam up some narrow pathways as well. However, I say far away because the splash wall does have some strange methods in how it's deployed. For one, its deployment time of it unfurling and starting to rain down ink does take a couple of seconds, which can be too late to stop an opponent that's close enough with a full head of steam. Also, unlike other bombs that you can drop right at your feet, the splash wall has a set throwing arc that it has to go before you. So you can't go to a ledge on a perch or on the edge of tower and tower control and just drop it right on the edge and to allow you to have a free wall right at the edge there. You have to take a few steps back and throw it on there with precision, especially when on the tower. So using it as a panic tool isn't really a great choice, as it'll just fly behind them and it won't really be of any help then. Along with that, while it isn't the most expensive sub in the world at only 60% of your ink tank, it takes a bit of time to begin recovering ink after you throw it. So you don't get a free reload with 7 seconds of straight protection, leaving you with just about 2 shots in the tank after you use it. And while the wall does protect you from your opponent's shots and bombs, subs exploding on it do take out a good chunk of its health, which can make it disappear quickly. And while subs explosions don't penetrate the wall, any teammates that are showering underneath or right on the other side of the wall when they explode on it feel the full effect of it as if it went off normally. Other weapons that demolish it are Tentavrellas, as they sap away its health in seconds. And while it can protect you from explosions and from specials like Reef Slider, Triple Inkstrike, and Trizooka, it only delays Reef Slider for a brief moment before it charges through and does its job. It doesn't stop it entirely. Another special to be on the lookout for is Ultra Stamp, as it completely crushes it in an instant with just one swing. However, sometimes while it's good at being a shield, it's also great at playing mind games with opponents. Opponents' typical instinct upon seeing one is to destroy it. So while they're trying to shred through the wall, you can swim off to the side of it and flank them with a charged shot to take them down with a bit of protection and surprise. This could be especially helpful when it's paired with the sub power-up ability, as this will increase its health and durability. It will still only be out for 7 seconds, but it will be able to take more hits from opponents before it goes down. However, be aware of enemies with Object Shredder, as this can make it easier for opponents to tear it down, as damage inflicted to it is increased by 125%. And also, as cool as it is and what story mode will tell you at times, you can only throw one out at a time. So even if you have more time and the wall can take more damage, the second you throw out the other one, the first one you put will be destroyed on the spot. So no double walls that you can stack together to make a giant wall of defense. But when used right, this sub can give you some of those precious seconds you need to set up a shot and take out an opponent safely, or give you a safe spot to retreat to after you charge ahead for a shot, then run back to cover with your team. And many teammates will appreciate a bit of defense as well. But it especially works well in letting you freely unleash your powerful special, Triple Inkstrike. Since you can't swim while you're throwing out the targets, when paired with the splash wall, this can give you 7 free seconds to throw them out wherever you want under strong protection. And especially if you're at a good sniper perch, you can see where enemies are and where ink is needed to capture turret, objectives, or move enemy backliners that are attacking you and your team. It's almost like a massive Splat Bomb in a way that can flush out opponents for you to find and shoot down, especially since it's a free tank reload that lets you have access to another full tank of charged shots or another splash wall to build your defenses again. For its best modes, I'd honestly say it's really good in Rainmaker, as it's a good defensive weapon in its own right with the gun, but also Splash Wall is a good way to help your team by jamming up certain pathways the enemy tries to go, and can even block a Rainmaker shot or the shield popping. And TriStrike can break it as well to help break your checkpoints. Tower Control is still a good choice as well since you're up on perch sniping enemies, and Splash Wall can make some good defensive points for your team and can even defend the tower itself if you throw it off the walls on certain stages to land back on a tower. And of course, GG strikes to take the tower and defend it are always welcome for your team. Splat Zones is also really great, as you can snipe people in the zone and can make it tough for foes to take you out with Splash Wall and give you an edge in some sniper duels. And Tri-Strikes are great zone takers and backline disruptors in a sniper duel. And surprisingly enough, it's actually pretty good in Turf War too, as while you aren't the greatest painter with the sniper, you can still help take out enemies to keep your numbers up, and Splash Wall can defend you and teammates by blocking certain pathways on some stages. And while your gun doesn't get a lot of turf, Tri-Strikes definitely do, especially in those final seconds at the end to push you over for a win. For best abilities, I'd say probably the best ones you want to have for this one, and maybe even the weapon class in general, is Special Charge Up and Ink Recovery Up, as Chargers are really bad at getting their special unless they're like nailing their target every time and never die. And if you want those Tri-Strikes, you need all the help you can get here since your sub doesn't really help in this facet at all. And getting ink back in the tank as fast as possible is very helpful, especially to get as much as you can with Splash Wall's use. So give those a try as well as these other ones to get the most out of your protective sniper as possible. For its best stages, the ones that have straightforward paths can really help you, as you can jam up pathways with the splash walls and make for some easy pickings on enemies trying to make moves. And also, if you use Tri-Strikes to flush enemies out of one area of cover, they can be easy for you to snipe to keep the advantage up on your side. Okay, we got one more kit to talk about, thanks to that amazing update that came out at the best time in June. But it gave the Splat Charger an all-new kit. Fresh out of the military at level 10, it's the Splat Charger Camo. Like the last two weapons, its main stats are the same, but its kit gives it ways to paint much more than the ZNF kit before it to bust out its secret weapon much more frequently. It does that with its returning sub, the Sprinkler. True to its name, it is a sprinkler that, when thrown, sprinkles drops of ink in a circle around it and a circle around it itself indefinitely. Its bottom has the same kind of suction cup as the Suction Bomb, as it can be placed on nearly any surface. The floor, a wall, ceilings, things that hang from the ceilings, with it spreading the ink farther the higher it is on a perch. Every drop of ink put on the turf will count as turf U ink, which will help paint the ground and get you points to fill your special gauge, and putting it on areas opponents have trouble reaching, like on high ceilings in Ramen, or on the moving platforms like in Lumera, can cover a lot of ground for you and can be hard for opponents to shoot down. It uses up to 60% of the ink tank per use, but runs in multiple phases through its lifespan. When deployed, it'll make a splotch of ink on the ground, but won't deal any damage at first. I mean, it's not really a projectile bomb like a Burst Bomb or Splat Bomb. Then, for the first 5 seconds, it goes into a high power phase, spinning very fast and spitting out 15 drops of ink. After that, it loses a little bit of juice and slows down a bit, but inks at the same speed for about 15 seconds. If it survived for that long, then it'll enter a low power phase and will slow down greatly, making a drop of ink every 1/6 of a second until it's destroyed by an opponent, or the player places a new one, or if the player goes down. Oh yeah, I guess that is a thing I should mention. That while this is arguably the most useless special in the game in a battle, it's probably the most loyal of all things, as it will do its job until it takes about 120 points of damage, which will destroy it, but will also be destroyed if the player who threw it is splatted. It literally dies with you, it's that loyal. It's also destroyed if the player throws a second one, like a splash ball, so you can't have tons of these things around all over the place painting for you and giving you points for multiple different places. Trust me, if it did, Aerospray players would be much more annoying to deal with then. The ink it spits out also does deal a bit of damage, dealing 20 points per drop that hits an opponent. So it can be used to weaken foes a little bit in fights if it's put near a battle. Though, if you really want to be disrespectful, it can be a punishing attack to a super jump near you, or it can splat someone who's barely hanging on after being hit a lot of times. Because even the game admits that the most embarrassing way to go in this game is splatted by Sprinkler. No, really, Pearl and Marina literally admit it, look. And sometimes that fear players have to not die from it can make them forget that the Sprinkler was placed by someone with a dangerous one-hit kill attack. Like the Splash Ball, people's first thought upon seeing it is to destroy it. So throw it out as bait to make opponents reveal themselves and try to get rid of it, and blast them as they make the move. It does have 120 points of health, which can kind of work as a small shield in close fights, but it's not really that helpful since it's a sub that was made for turfing, not fighting. And if the opponent has any object shredder on their gear, one hit is all they need to take it down. But a good idea with this sub is that at the start of a match, throw it around the base or areas your team won't be going often to paint as much as you can on the ground, and hence, get more chances to use your special weapon. Remember, the more paint it turfs as well with you, means the more chances you get to use your special. Last couple of things to bring up with the Sprinkler is that, unlike other subs like Splat Bombs, when the game says stop at the end of a turf war, the Sprinkler stops too, so it doesn't get to make one last explosion of 3 points that the enemy can't do anything about, like other bombs. Last but not least, sub power-up makes its duration of its high power and mid power phases last a bit longer, but not by much. And for how it can work specifically with the camo, it may chip an opponent for damage every now and again, which can make it so you don't have to land a full charge hit to finish the opponents off, but that works way better with other weapons than with this one. It mainly works to help you paint and have this weapon get its special a lot more often. And that special brings a crab to a cephalopod fight, as it's time to break out the artillery, people, with the crab tank. This gives the player a single-person crab shank tank that can fire ink at opponents with 3 turret-like cannons that the player can move, aim, and control for 8 seconds. The tank has 2 firing modes. By pressing ZR, it fires 2 rapid streams of bullets that start slow at the same speed of about a .96 gal, but increases in speed the longer you hold down the button to fire shots as far and fast as a Hydra Splatling, dealing 32 points of damage with each hit, needing only 4 shots to splat an opponent. Believe me, when it gets to max speed, people aren't walking through that stream with just a chip on their shoulder. Meanwhile, pressing R has a lava ball of ink in an arc that drops and explodes when it hits the ground like an explosion, dealing 80 points of damage on a direct hit and 30 on a splash hit. This is a good way to flush out or take out foes that you may have were able to tag with a hit or 2 from the cannons to finish the job, or make them come out into your other cannon's fire. However, if you stop the cannons by using the lob shot or by pressing ZL to curl into a ball to move, the rapid fire will start over from its slowest speed again. It has to rebuild back up. Speaking of which, the crab tank has 2 ways of movement. It can walk like a crab by moving normally, but it will walk and strafe faster if you move side to side like, well, the crab. But the other method, by pressing ZL, you get it to curl up into a ball and roll around on the ground and even up walls, inking the surface as you move, and even able to perform a small hop to jump in the air by pressing B. And then whichever way you're facing, the tank will point you in that direction to continue firing. However, while you are climbing up walls with it, you can only go up and down as the tank. You can't go side to side. It doesn't quite have the same versatility you do in your swimming form for climbing walls. but it can be used to run people over like a boulder, as if you roll it into an opponent, you deal 40 points of damage to them, which is a hilarious way to take someone down if you run them down by rolling around at the speed of sound. And near the end of its destructive run, the tank will flash red and make a whirling sound to let the player know that they'll have to return as an infantryman to the army instead of hiding behind the artillery. Now, while you may feel absolutely unstoppable controlling this walking tank, I'm here to tell you that it and you are not invincible on it. The tank itself can actually only take up to 500 points of damage before it is destroyed, which will leave the player on the ground and vulnerable to damage again like normal. Also, while the front of the tank does protect the player, the cockpit in the back where the player is completely unguarded. So if opponents can get around you and attack you from behind your protective armor, your special will end on the spot. Going in ball form will protect the player from damage, but there are a lot of weapons that can break through the armor to get to you. Some of those are other specials, like Booyah Bomb, Triple Inkstrike, and Tenon missiles will shred through it like nothing. And if it breaks through the armor, it can continue dealing damage to you to take you down. Most subs also detonate on contact with it as well, like a splash wall, which can take out a lot of its health and accidentally maybe kill some teammates that are a little too close to it. But some attacks and weapons can go through the armor or get to the weak spot very easily. Like sloshers can arc their shots right over the armor and hit the pilot to take them out. Chargers can actually pull off headshots and hit your head poking up over the armor to end your run early as well. Killer whale lasers and wavebreaker shockwaves go right through the armor to damage you directly, and at bare minimum can make you waste your time to avoid them rather than fighting and attacking enemies. Trizooka, Inkjet, and Ultra Stamps also smash through it, and so does Reef Slider, able to slide right through the armor to your cockpit side and take you out. Even some main weapons absolutely demolish the tank's armor, such as the Splatana Stamper, Nautilus Splatling, the Well Strings, and Big Swig Rollers. Torpedoes also cause a problem if they home in on you from the sides, as the crank tank doesn't really turn quickly to let you shoot down targets. Dualies are also a bit of an issue too, as they can use their quick speed and dodge rolls to get around to your weak point quickly, or at least make you waste time trying to move yourself and get into a ball. And blasters are very dangerous to Crab Tank, as they do a good damage to the tank, or can even reach back to damage the pilot to end the run early. The biggest risk of this special is you need to be sure you're at the right distance away from any enemies. As while this is a strong attack that can mow down enemies from afar, it's also a bit of a sitting duck. So it's good to be a good distance away from enemies, but still close enough to land your attacks to support your team. This is a favorite special to people that work closely with backline weapons, as this basically turns into one of the ultimate backline weapons that rains continuous fire on enemies longer than any Splatling with a full charge, especially with some special power-up. When used correctly, this can be the ultimate push stopper that mows down enemies attempting to push in with its fast shots and disperses them with the cannon shots. But it also works as a great tool to support a push as well, in modes like Clam Blitz and Splat Zones to take down enemies by the objective, and is among the best specials to have on the tower for tower control to protect it and fight enemies while riding it to break through tough checkpoints. This makes a great special for this weapon, as this makes your already long range even longer and can make an even stronger defensive stand against enemies and even support a great attack as well. This can even work in Clam Blades, as it can carry footballs at other clams towards the basket to score once the barrier is down and enemies are gone. It makes the Charger a greater weapon than what it already is to blast down enemies and open the path for your team to take the objective like any good artillery unit does. For its best modes, Camo probably shines brightest in Splat Zones, as on certain stages, the sniper is great at taking down enemies and can even help paint a bit in the zone and other areas around it for you to be able to move with Sprinkler. And when you get Crab Tank, it's a great attack to lead teammates to attack the zone or be used to defend it when you have control to prevent enemies from getting back into it. Turf War is pretty good too, as while the gun isn't a great painter, Sprinkler can help in some areas, and then you use Crab Tank to take down enemies and let the rest of your team paint the stage. Clam Blitz is pretty solid too, as it's a great defender of the basket with the gun and Crab Tank, but also can start a push taking a football yourself or escorting a teammate with one to get to the enemy basket area. And Sprinkler can paint the basket area and other areas to keep control on the stage. Tower control is always a good choice too, as you can snipe on it, and Sprinkler can work as a small shield on the tower, but also painting around it as it goes. And Crab Tank can help you push forward or defend a checkpoint when enemies try to move in with it. For best abilities, I definitely say you want Special Charge Up with this one, as the whole thing with this weapon and Sprinkler is you want to get Crab Tank as much as possible. So you want that here to help make that happen, especially since Crab Tank costs 200 points to get with this weapon. Another one you could add is Tenacity, as usually Chargers are the last ones alive. So when your team's on its heels, you want whatever you need to get your special to try and help get your team back on its feet. Definitely any of these abilities to help you stay alive and get your special to keep your team and keep the assault up on your enemy. For best stages, again, you want ones where enemy has to approach you and you can shoot down with a charger or crab tank, as you don't have a fighting sub-weapon with this one, and gives you great areas to defend important areas and move ahead to support a push into the enemy's side or into mid. You don't have a lot to fight with compared to other weapons and backliners, so any stage that can give you an advantage to stand your ground as the last line of defense is helpful. And that'll do it for this episode of the Splat Bros Weapon Guide. Hope you all learned something new about the Chargers and maybe a bit more about how they work. Maybe enticing you to try it out again if you didn't enjoy it the first time like I did. But I honestly found it to be pretty fun once things started to click. It is a tough weapon class to master, but rewarding if you do. If you enjoyed what you saw, please feel free to like and subscribe to stay tuned for upcoming episodes of this series in the future and other things we do here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone, and if there's anything we missed or may have gotten wrong, feel free to let us know down in the comments below, as Nintendo could suddenly drop another major patch on us and change things around again. They have done it in the past. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and hope to see you all next time for the next episode.